Code of conduct.
Heavy is the head that wears the crown. I put in extra work that just can't be found. I took the sword out the stone, wasn't a thing. Look me in my eyes cause I'm a king. Look me in my eyes cause I'm a king. God made me punch in accurate numbers. My castle won't crumble. What I tackle will fumble. I've been a leader when they ain't see it, but now my feet is up. According to me, royalty didn't end with King Tut. Crown on my head, clouds is at my legs. Big says sky is the limit. I look down on the ledge. I push the bar like I'm opening a cell. Hands in my cookie jar, you won't come out with a single nail. I need all of mine. The weight of my shoulders won't fit on a scale. What's a king to a giant? Well, Goliath fell. Even if we playin' chess, dog, this king can't be checked. I make all my moves on the board, I invented my steps. I'm a king, the blood of a ruler. I feel like Mansa Musa. Make your squad disappear like landing by the Bermuda. Triangle, look at it from my angle. I'm a king, the closest thing to being one of God's angels. I'm a king. Heavy is the head that wears the crown. I put in extra work that just can't be found. I took the sword out the stone, wasn't a thing. Look me in my eyes cause I'm a king. Look me in my eyes cause I'm a king.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. This is the Code of Conduct with the King podcast. I am your host, Jay Spence the King, and I am excited because it's a hard knock life week. And y'all know I always try to throw out those Jay-Z references when I can. But we are going to be talking about who's going to be on Hard Knocks this year, we're going to talk about that, but we're also going to we're going to try to put to rest some of this drama that's been down at One Bills Drive. And then we're going to talk some other stuff too. We're going to have some fun and kind of talk hypotheticals, like who should be on certain lists and who shouldn't be, or will people be taken off certain lists and walls and all that stuff. And to do that, I have two legends. I have the co-hosts of the Line to Gain show. I have Sara Larson. Oh, wait. We called her Sara Cap or Salary Cap Sara. And
yeah, it doesn't quite roll off your tongue well.
You got to come up with your own nickname then. You got to get one. Yeah. You need a nickname.
Well, everyone called me Lala when I was younger, but it just never continued as I got older. So I'm trying to bring that back a little bit.
All right.
Well, we'll figure it out.
Work with it.
And then we got my man Big O. What is going on, sir? The legend himself.
Not much, man. I'm gassed up. I'm ready to go. I'm excited about it. Always good to be on with you. Obviously, get to go with Sara every week, and we'll be on again tomorrow night, right, Sara? Am I correct with all that?
Yeah.
So are we going on at 9 or are we going on at 8?
9.
We're going on at 9. So 9 Eastern, 8 Central, Line to Gain. Sara will run that. I'm just a passenger on that trip, Spence.
I know how it goes. Tomorrow I'll be a passenger as well as the Chop Up returns. So it'll be me and Sterling. I'm not sure if Jeremy, and I don't think Antoine's joining us either. So I think Sterling's going to drive the vehicle tomorrow as I sit there as a passenger as well. And we're going to get it in. But let's start this episode with I guess it's like breaking news in a way. TMZ reports that Tyreek Hill, star wide receiver for the Miami Dolphins, is under investigation currently right now. It says over alleged assault and battery in Miami. I guess at some point, I'm one of the guys, I try not to when guys have these type of off-field issues, I don't try to really dive too deep into it, and I try not to talk because I try to keep everything separate, like the personal life and the game and all that stuff. It gets difficult when it gets to a point when you start to see patterns, and it's not, now granted, we know that he's gone through some off-field issues that had to deal with some assault and things like that in the past. Wasn't charged officially, but again, you have these patterns. I guess that's just the way to put it. Right. At some point, we have to call a spade and say it is what it is. What is your initial thought with this? Let's start with Big O here, and then we'll swing it up to Sara.
Well, I actually got quite a bit of knowledge of his history because he was at Oklahoma State before he transferred. I believe it was I think it was Cleveland State is where he went to after he was excused from Oklahoma State. He had an issue with a pregnant girlfriend there. There was abuse allegations. One thing about Mike Gundy, he don't mess around with any of that stuff. If you got stuff going on, he removes you from the team. Tyreek, who single-handedly beat Oklahoma, I believe that the year before on the Bob Stoops re-kick, he took a punt in for a touchdown. They won in. Norman, obviously a huge part of that team, but yeah, this is something he's had before. Now, obviously, abuse charges or assault charges, we don't know what those are. Those might be in a club. Those might be a road rage incident. Who knows? We don't know if it's related to another relationship issue or whatever. But yes, there seems to be a pattern. He's had that happen before. And it'll be interesting to see what the Dolphins do and what the league does because, our good friend Alyssa made a really good point on Twitter today. We're hammering players for gambling, right? We're hammering players for all this stuff. It'd be nice to see us have that same sort of enthusiasm when it comes to assault and, abuse of a female and things like that. It'd be nice to see that same kind of zeal or that same kind of, that the way they're handling gambling also on that aspect as well. So we'll see what happens. Obviously, nothing's come out yet other than he does have a situation. We'll see more, but yeah, it's a little disheartening.
Well, Sarah, so I want to give you a chance to kind of answer that as well. But Bleacher Report
it's on the news down here too. So
okay,
yeah.
So Tyreek Hill, it says it's after allegedly hitting a man at a marina in Miami on Sunday. So it is. It doesn't have to do with a woman or a relationship or anything like that, but still, assault is assault.
Yeah. So yeah, it's been on the news for like the last hour here. And he had it on Twitter or whatever, Instagram. He was out twice this past week, Sunday and Tuesday. He shows he was out on the water. So it's definitely him. The question is, if they have any of it on video, what, he said, she said, whatnot, who started it. I have a feeling it'll just probably get swept under the rug, like it always does. They'll come to some type of monetary settlement and it'll be moved on.
But you know what I have an issue with when it comes to stuff like that? First of all, you're right. I'm not saying my issue is with what you said. You're right. But the issue that I do have is that, okay, so yeah, something like this, he'll probably pay somebody, whoever the victim was, he'll pay them. They'll accept it, sign an NDA, never talk about it again and go away. And we'll kind of forget. We won't forget about it because it'll come up every time anything really big about Tyreek Hill comes up. But on a week-to-week basis, when you were watching the game, this won't even be a thing. But yet every single time you see Stefon Diggs stressed out on the sideline now, you're going to the news, the media, including us, because that's what we do. We're going to talk about how Stefon Diggs is emotional and how he's a bad teammate.
And a diva.
And he's on it from something that, so to me, I'll be honest with you, I'd rather have whatever passion that we're seeing now. Is it a distraction to me? Yes, period. It's a distraction. But I'd rather have Stefon Diggs being unhappy with us not winning or him not, whatever the issue is. I'd rather have this than for us to have a player who's constantly in the news for any type of assault, any type of abuse, any type of off-field stuff like this. Am I kind of off base with that when I'm saying it? Because I think that's ridiculous.
I don't think you're off base with it, but I also know this: if you don't want to be talked about, then don't do it. That's a real simple way of making it go away. For everybody that thought it went away, it was brought back up again today in the media. There were discussions about it and those types of things. Obviously Stefon is very, very passionate. He does run a little bit hot as far as, competitive situations and things like that. You can call it what you want to call it, but at some point it becomes a distraction and it doesn't need to be done. And so, yes, I mean, obviously when you're talking about a guy who has a history of assault versus a guy who has a history of maybe coming a little bit unglued on a sideline, yeah, you would rather have that. But, all in all, you don't want the latter either. And it would be nice if we could, button that up a little bit and not have to talk about it all the time.
Sarah, anything with that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm the one that was so super loud about everyone going crazy about, Diggs and how aggravated I get that everyone calls him a diva and everything else just because, he's not getting his own way. And, but then you look at, Aaron Rodgers or Tom Brady, and they throw the same type of fits on the sideline, and they're passionate and everything. It's kind of the same thing, here. Like, don't look at one guy and say that they're a terrible person and a diva and everything else when he hasn't done anything physical to somebody. He hasn't hurt anybody. He's just, being passionate about the game. And then you got someone like Tyreek Hill, who, Jerry was just saying, who has literally gotten in trouble several times with the law already, but it just keeps on, getting passed by like it's nothing. The one thing I always remember when it comes to him is the child abuse charges that ended up getting dismissed, but there was so much evidence on it. It just, you can tell that the person dropped the charges. So I just hate it. I wish that the narrative would go away.
That's why
the only thing go ahead, Spence. Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I mean, that's why I go hard for people like when Cam was in the league. I know he fell off a cliff there at the end of his career. He couldn't throw the ball 10 yards. I get it. That's why I go hard for guys like Odell Beckham Jr., who really, at the end of the day, you really don't have any reports to say he was a bad teammate or he's been horrible in the locker room. But you have these reports that come out when he does these sideline antics, or you have these things where he wants to take his teammates on a boat, on their bye week or something like that to relax. These are the type of things that really get ran through the media in a very negative manner, as opposed to, because again, I feel like this story is going to go away, but at this point now it's a repeated thing. So I don't understand it, and I'm part of the media now. So this is one of the things about what we do that bugs me. But Big O, you had something to say there?
Well, the only thing I will say, and by the way, if you remember, it's not just Stephon Diggs. Our offense coordinator slammed an iPad in the press box at Miami, and that has turned into a meme in itself, and that's still talked about. I heard that narrative the other day about how Dorsey is a hothead and things like that because he slammed his iPad. But going back to some of the stuff with Peyton Manning and Tom Brady and everything, honestly, if a receiver runs a wrong route, if a running back goes the wrong way and doesn't pick up a blitz, I have no problems with a quarterback getting on a player. The only thing I have issue with is the almost I don't want to say spoiled, but when I'm not getting my way, then I throw a fit. That's a little bit different than reacting to a player that is making missed assignments and doing the wrong thing. I think it's a little bit different. Yes, it's somewhat similar, but I don't think it's even on the same level.
Yeah, so we can move on from it. It kind of dropped right before the show went live here, so I just wanted to kind of get your thoughts on it. We can move on, and we can, let's end this up, and actually let's finalize the conversation as well about One Bills Drive, since we're kind of in this type of conversation. Let's end this up here. So it seems like now all is well ends well. Seems like Stephon Diggs and Josh Allen's marriage is back on, and they're back in a good place, and they had makeup dinner and they had a nice whatever, right? So everybody's good. Do you buy it? Do you feel like it's over, or is it just kind of like one of the teams saying, okay, guys, you go out there in front of these cameras during practice and you make nice, because we're sick of this shit. You got to put this to bed.
Right. Sarah, you can go first on that.
Yeah, I think that realistically, no one really knows exactly what was going on. Was the problem with Josh and Steph? Was the problem with Steph and Dorsey? Was the problem with, Steph and the whole entire offense? We have no clue. It could also have been non-football related, which is what, Josh alluded to begin with. We don't know. So do I think that they've put it aside for now? Yes. And I say for now because, the first time they get out on the field and they start losing, if it's not really fixed, it'll show.
Well, the first thing is this: if you think there's never disagreements on a football team, you're crazy. The difference is they're done in a locker room. They're not done out in the middle of the field with a bunch of cameras around. The second thing is I don't understand why everybody feels the need that those two have to like one another. I don't think that the whole like thing is important. We talked about this on the show last week. There's a definite difference between like and love. Like comes and goes. I like to win, but a win leaves and it goes away, and then you're searching for something else. I don't care if they like one another. I don't care if they hang out. I don't care if they exchange Christmas cards. But what I do care about is that they love one another to where they'll do the things they have to do for that football team to be successful. And an example of that is with love comes trust, with love comes respect. And that's where my problems are. I think that people really still think this NFL game is like high school, where everybody's buddies and they go to school every day, or college where we're living in the same dorm or apartment complex. We're hanging out at the pool in the summer and we're doing all this stuff together. It's not that way. As Mitch Moore said, I got shit to do. I got a family. I got kids. And you only have a couple really, really close friends in professional sports or on a professional football team. I don't care if they like one another. I just want them to make sure that they love each other, they respect each other, they trust one another, that on Sunday they will do the right things that we win football games. So I think that's something that's a little bit blown out of proportion. I don't really care if they like one another or not.
My man Daryl Fletcher says, my man Daryl Dome's in the building. He says it's over for now, but Steph is going to be Steph at the end of the day. I'm sure there will be some frustration again at some point. It ultimately won't matter if the team wins, though. And that's kind of what I said Saturday on my pod. I did a pod with Mina Kimes over the weekend, and one of the things that I said at the beginning of the show is that, I don't even understand why at this point anybody's acting surprised. Like, first of all, This is who Stephon Diggs is. We've known who he was before he came here from Minnesota. We knew who he was when he got here from Minnesota. And now we're going to blow every single tweet, every single press conference, every single disagreement out of proportion. And, the thing that also bothered me about this too is like even Adam Schefter, like Shefty, every single year the Buffalo Bills cancel the last day of practice because it's like not a big deal. Every single year, like since McDermott.
They didn't when I was there. I wish they did.
Well, since McDermott has been here, I think
NFL teams do now, though.
Yeah, they canceled that last day, and now Shefty comes out and he doesn't say it's a problem, but the way you could tell the way that some information is presented is almost to say like, yep, it's a fire up in Buffalo, and it's not even close. It's frustrating to watch how that goes. Sarah, you're nodding your head. I feel like you kind of agree with what I'm saying there.
Yeah, I mean, it's frustrating, but at the same time, I like going under the radar. They can keep on saying it's a dumpster fire, and they can, push the false narrative, and then we can go out and, last year, I think part of us, fell apart when we were the Super Bowl favorites. And, when you look back to 2020, we weren't expected to do much of anything. And, we came out and kind of dominated. So I want to go back to that. I want to go under the radar. Let them think that there's 3, 4, 5, or 6, AFC teams better than us. I'm okay with that.
You know what? You mentioned the 2020 season. So I've been watching that season recently. So I think I'm through the season now. I just ended with the 13 seconds game. So I'm done with the season. Look, not 13 seconds game. I ended with the AFC Championship game. But look, that year, if there was a year to win it, I always keep saying the 13-second year was like the team, was the roster. That 2020 team, first of all, Josh could have very easily, I think I said this to you the other day, Sarah, Josh could have very easily been the MVP. Like, I get that Aaron Rodgers was like lights out in 2020. I get it. Like he pretty much had a perfect season for a quarterback. Barely any interceptions, barely any turnovers, barely any but listen, the way Josh played, watching that season back, it was impressive. I couldn't even believe that we had a quarterback like that in Buffalo. This is not even a part of the comment or the questions that I sent you guys, but Sarah, for you, what was the moment, like, because it had to be that season like everybody else, what was the moment for you that you're like, okay, no, I thought that Josh had some intangibles, but okay, he's the guy, like this
in 2020?
Yeah,
in 2020, the Dallas Cowboys game, the Thanksgiving game, that was the game for me. I knew that like we were good. I just didn't think that it was going to be that. No, that was 2019 actually. I think that was the year before. I thought he was, I think he was, I knew going into 2020 that what he could be. I think that to be honest with you, I think that not playing in front of a crowd actually was beneficial for him. I think he just went crazy, not having to worry about, impressing anybody other than the people out on the, on the field in that moment. So, I don't know. I think that's I can't really think back to 2020 and a specific game because I kind of already knew going in. My answer always is the Thanksgiving game against Dallas.
What about you, Jerry?
I think it was that Dallas game, and there was a few other games, and I think that the time when you saw the fact that Josh could actually every now and then, you don't want it to happen every week, but there's times where your quarterback's going to have to win a game for you. And it was that season that he started becoming that type of quarterback where the fact he could run, the fact he could throw, but he could take over a game. Saw it again this year at home against Miami, that game we were at on Saturday night. There comes a point in time where he just says, hey, I'm going to go win this. The rest of you can come if you want, but I'm going to take this over. And it was that season when he started really, really doing that. And to me, that was the telltale sign that he had arrived.
For me, I think it was that 2020 season. I agree with what both of you said. The season prior, there were moments that made me say, okay, this guy can be special. But in the Rams game, we kind of came out to a big lead. We opened up on them, and then the Rams kind of came back. And I don't know if you both remember, but there was like just a horrible interception call that shouldn't have gone the Rams' way. Momentum completely swung, and we were down with the ball on the last drive, and Josh stayed cool. He just made it, and he just looked different. And the Bills haven't had a quarterback to, at that point, kind of just take over in big moments in games like that. So for me, it was just like, oh, this dude is serious. And it's been fun to watch and go back now to see the growth over the time. You know, in the moment, there's some excitement, some nerves, and, you know, your heart, if you got an Apple Watch, is probably telling you to sit down and drink some water. But it's been fun to watch. Let me ask you this, and I'll start with Jerry on this. This was one of the questions. Has Josh, we talk about this, I feel like now every offseason, but has Josh to some extent or some degree caught up to Jim Kelly in, I guess, in any capacity? I know he hasn't made it to the Super Bowl. Jim made it to 4. One side of the argument, people would say, this is a ridiculous question to ask, Spence. Like, how can you ask? It's Jim Kelly. And that's probably Sara, because that's why Sara lives in Miami.
You know, I hate this question. It's the whole like MJ and LeBron and Kareem. I hate this question. The different eras, different. I hate it. But go ahead. I'll
me and
Jerry
and I have been arguing for the last 3 weeks about MJ or LeBron. So we overly participate in these conversations when we probably shouldn't. But Jerry, we'll start with you on this one, because you had the honor and privilege and fun times to play with Jim. So from your perspective, how do you feel about when this question comes up every summer now?
I think that they're very similar in their careers. I mean, the Bills were kind of a floundering franchise, didn't have a quarterback. Jim Kelly goes to the USFL. Then obviously that league folds after a couple of years. He arrives in Buffalo in a parade and begins his triumphant ascent to the throne. And, you know, they go to the 4 Super Bowls, and he goes on to have a Hall of Fame career. Very similar to Josh Allen, who shows up. Obviously, Josh didn't quite have the, I guess you could say, I don't know, maybe not quite the college career of Jim, or maybe wasn't quite as you know, the fanfare and everything else that Jim had. Now, obviously, we're also talking Jim. Jim was going to make sure there was fanfare. Jim was going to make sure the attention was on him. But the same situation, showed up, team did not have a quarterback. Josh gets picked, and the rest is history. The thing that's going to really be the telltale sign for me, I'm still Jim Kelly. I will probably always be Jim Kelly. I'm partial to Jim, obviously, because I played for him. There is no tougher football player that I ever played with than Jim Kelly. The man was absolutely amazing. His toughness, and I believe toughness wins. I think it's the most important trait of a player is his toughness. And because it allows the natural ability and the natural talent to shine through. I look at that, and I also look at his leadership, and I look at how, you know, they had the bickering Bills. I told Sara last week, 2 totally separate situations than what's going on with Diggs. This isn't 2 players. That was back when obviously Jim had made some comments about House Ballard, and the rest of the team came to House's defense, and then that whole situation started. But when Josh really starts taking – I think Josh is a strong leader. I don't think he is quite to the level of Jim Kelly yet. When he really starts coming into his own with that swagger and that ability to lead this group, and quite possibly, although I agree with Daryl, Stefan's going to be Stefan, maybe that stuff doesn't happen anymore because he, takes a stronger leadership role. Then I'll go ahead and maybe try to compare him. But to me, there will be no comparison because Jim Kelly is the man and always will be.
Well, Sarah, I know you already hate the conversation, but what are your thoughts after Jerry?
Yeah. I'm going to agree with Jerry that for now it's Jim. Jim had, if I think back, he went to the Super Bowl his 5th year, 17 playoff appearances. Josh has only had eight. Yeah. If I think 8. I think Josh is 4-4, and Jim Kelly, was, I know we won 9, so 9-8, and 4 of them being losses in the Super Bowl. I think that Josh will get there. I think that if you look at statistically, I think Josh will probably surpass Kelly's numbers and probably will have a lot longer career than Kelly. If, as Jerry was saying, Kelly went to, the USFL first, and that before coming, over to play with the Bills. So he came a little bit older. So he only played, for like 11 years. So I think Josh will eventually get there. So my answer is Kelly still for sure. Even if the stats don't measure up, I think that getting us to a Super Bowl is enough to kind of start comparing. Winning a Super Bowl would put Josh ahead for me. Obviously he needs to win it though. But if it's multiple Super Bowl appearances, it's just timing. You gotta just, it's 5 years to 11 years, and multiple playoff appearances and multiple Super Bowl appearances. You can't compare it at this point. I think Josh will get there though.
So what you're saying, what you're saying, Sarah, is just because you're statistically dominant over another player, that doesn't mean you're the best of all time. I'm just asking for Spence. I mean, he seems to have confusion with that.
Okay,
that it's championships that make the difference and not statistics. I
think that a part of stats matter, but the difference between the way people played 20 years ago and the way the people play now is
where I was
very
going
different.
with that.
I knew where he was going.
It's the difference is they're very different styles of play. And if we're going to basketball, it's very different for basketball, but football as well. I mean, Kelly averaged about 3,000 yards a year. Josh is averaging over 4,000 a year.
It's a different game now.
It's a different game. That's my point.
It's a different game. But
that's why I hate this conversation.
Right.
Comparing.
And I will say this: as much as I am a Jim Kelly homer and I ride with Jim, I will say this. Jim played on teams with Thurman, Hall of Fame, Andre Reed, Hall of Fame, Kent Hull should be in the Hall of Fame. Tasker should be in the Hall of Fame.
You should be in the Hall of Fame.
Bruce, Hall of Fame. Marv Levy, Hall of Fame. I mean, so, he was playing on some teams with some pretty damn good players. But like you said, I think that, especially, and I'll tell you what, if you ask most people, especially ex-athletes or current pro athletes, I mean, heck, Shaq says it all the time. I don't want to hear anything. How many does MJ have? 6. How many does LeBron have? This many. End of discussion. And that's it. He shuts down after that. So I'm not saying that's right or wrong, but no, I still think it's Jim Kelly. And I think that really, if you look at Buffalo and what it's all about, I mean, Jim Kelly exemplifies Buffalo, exemplifies the city, exemplifies the franchise.
He hated Buffalo. He didn't want to go to Buffalo. He became Buffalo. Josh, I think, came in as Buffalo. So I think that's why Josh will eventually get there. I mean, he was kind of made perfectly for the team that he's on and taking over for after 17 years of having the drought and everything. I think that he's the perfect quarterback to be on the Bills and for this community and this the whole fandom of Bills Mafia, whatever.
Yep.
Okay. I mean, and I'll agree. I mean, I'm going to disagree about just to play devil's advocate here. I'm going to say it's Josh. I'm just going to do that. I'm going to say he's for different reasons, and I understand why both of you are saying Jim. I know Sara has a special place in her heart for Jim, so I completely get that. But to what Jerry's point was about,
I'd like to hear that story. I don't know it.
I've told the story. Haven't I told you the story?
Well, go ahead, Sara.
Is this some kind of U of M thing or something?
He's So quickly, I'll give you the quick version. My senior year, I got to meet him in Central New York and at a cheerleading football thing. Everyone knew how much I loved him, so they all pushed me to the front. So after he was done talking, I got to meet him first, and he asked me where I was going to school, and I told him I got accepted to a couple of schools, and then I ended with the University of Miami, and he beamed with a smile and said, "Have I seen the campus yet?" And I said, "Not yet." And he said, "Once you do, you'll know." I booked booked a bus Greyhound trip down. I couldn't afford a flight, so I took a bus down to Miami on my winter break and went and saw the campus. He was right. I knew. And my freshman year, the first football game of the season, he was the person to do the hurricane call. So I got to meet him again, and I walked up to him, and he actually remembered me. He was like, "I met you in Central New York at the Outlet Mall." He's like, "You chose the University of Miami." So he remembered me and everything. And it was, literally, I walked away in tears. He'll never know that part, but yeah.
But no, that was one of his superpowers, making ordinary people or people that weren't, making them feel special. He did the same thing with me when I was on the practice squad. He had that ability. It was amazing.
Yeah. Yep.
So I understand that both of you have a bias when it comes to, hey, is it Jim or Josh? So just for the sake of it being, we're not going to go 3-0 here. I'm going to say it's Josh for now. We'll debate.
I think it'll be Josh eventually.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. It is MJ though. We're gonna get a quick word from my guy, quick word from my guy Buffalo Freddy, real quick.
Okay, here's the deal. I know as Bills fans, we wait all year for the fall and the winter so we can go to the Bills games. I get it. Trust me, I do. But let me tell you why this time of the year is elite. It's party time. And we're going to party for so many reasons, whether it's a graduation party, a birthday party, family reunion, or just because it's Saturday and the weather's perfect. Here's the thing. My guy, Buffalo Freddy, has everything you need to make your party the best party of the year. We have everything from chairs and tables to premium tents, water slides, wet and dry bounce houses, and so much more. And that's not all. The best barbecue catering in Western New York has you covered, whether it's a small party or a corporate gathering. Buffalo Freddy Barbecue Catering makes everything easy for you. Rentals and bookings available now at www.buffalofreddy.com, or you can call 716-4FREDDY. That's 716-437-3339. Remember, for all your party rental needs, just call 4Freddy.
All right, and I had to drop that in at the very last year so Jerry couldn't respond because it's definitely not MJ over LeBron. Look, LeBron James, and we're not going to go into this. I'm going to control the conversation on this one because it's my show. Damn it, LeBron James is the better. No, look, MJ is that dude. Everybody knows who MJ was. At least you should. If you don't know how dominant of a player Michael Jordan was when he was playing, you probably shouldn't participate in many of these basketball conversations. The thing that I differ when I say that LeBron James is the better of the two is not because I'm taking anything away from Jordan. I think Jerry thinks that often because he'll send me a message here that like it'll be a random time of the day. It's like 2 a.m. and I get a text from Jerry like with an Instagram of Allen Iverson saying that Jordan is better. And so it's not taking anything away from Jordan. It's just that I think that the way LeBron, he's going to be a top 10 in basically every category whether it's scoring, rebounding, steals, like he's gonna be a top player in every category for. You just can't debate that for me. I get it. Jordan was a killer. So was Kobe. If you're going to have a certain conversation, you got to throw Kobe in there too. I'll give you a quick second to rebuttal, and then we're going to get on Hard Knocks.
Well, the reason I send you those are not the fact that it's about LeBron or MJ is number one. It's the fact that all the NBA guys say that Kobe's number two. So I'll just leave it at that.
I mean, that's fine. They're entitled to their wrong. No, you see me. I'm talking about NBA players. Like they're entitled to their wrong opinions. But let's get on this. Last summer, what to me one of the best years for Hard Knocks on HBO featured the Detroit Lions, and I thought it was just one of the best seasons. I now Jamal Williams isn't there anymore, but I loved his energy last year. I love how the entire coaching staff is full of former players. I just love the full energy of everything. So it's been reported that they're probably gonna repeat as the Hard Knock selection this year. Sarah, did you hear something else?
Yeah, I actually heard yesterday that they turned it down, but
they turned it down. Okay, so I haven't looked today.
I heard, so I don't know whether that's true or not, but it's been reported that they
actually been busy today for once at work, so I didn't get a chance to catch up on that. But if not them, then who would you like to see and why? But I would like to see Detroit again. I think it would be a fun thing. But if they did turn it down, then who would you like to see and why?
You want Sarah? Me to go first?
All right. Go
ahead. Yeah. I agree. I think that Detroit would have been the best choice to have him come back. They were probably the best year that it has been. I actually stopped watching it for a couple of years and then watched it because I had heard so much stuff about the Detroit season. So I think that Dan Campbell is great and entertaining. And then they had a really good recruiting, or rookie class this year. So, I think that if they were to have to do it, then it would be great to have them be the ones to do it. But since they don't, if they did turn it down, I would just absolutely love them to force the Jets to do it. I think that, Aaron Rodgers, probably the best storyline of the offseason. So I think that it would be fun to watch him have, a couple meltdowns throughout the off season and kind of change that narrative over in New Jersey. But I mean, right now, everybody seems to be turning it down. I think the three teams, I think it was the Saints, the Jets, and one other team, I can't think of who, that they can make do it. None of, they all turned it down. They all, for different reasons. So, but I think that if they're going to make a team, that they should make the Jets.
Well, the Jets would be the team, right? Because it's New York, it's Aaron Rodgers, like it's the biggest market if it's not LA, so it's the biggest market, it's Aaron Rodgers. Who else can it be? But Big O.
I think obviously the quirkiness of the head coach is what makes the show, right? So obviously HCDC, head coach Dan Campbell, as McAfee calls him, was the perfect choice, right? Then you had all the transition and things like that. There's like four teams I wouldn't mind seeing. One would be just because I would love to see what he's like really behind closed doors and how he really handles things. I think Belichick and the New England Patriots would be fascinating just to see Belichick in his environment, almost like going to the zoo and watching an animal in its habitat. I mean, it would be incredibly interesting. You want quirky? Nick Sirianni, the head coach of Philadelphia. I think the Eagles would be awesome. You got Jalen Hurts. You got, Sirianni, who's definitely a whack job and out there. Be good to see him. I think Andy Reid and the Chiefs would be interesting. I think it'd really be cool to see how Andy Reid handles things behind closed doors. And then obviously I enjoy Kyle Shanahan. I think the 49ers would be cool. I'd like to see Shanahan and how he does stuff. I think that would be a pretty cool camp as well. So those four teams I think would be cool to see. But, unless you have a head coach that is like, for instance, hey, man, nobody would probably want to see it but me. But like when Greg Williams was the head coach of the Bills, that probably would have been an unreal Hard Knocks.
Yeah. I think the Dolphins would actually – I think the Dolphins would actually – I like Mike McDaniels. I think it would be a good one as well. but supposedly every team has turned it down. And then the 3 teams that they are requiring to, or they could force to do it have also turned it down. So they're struggling. Right. It's a distraction. I don't care if, whatever, when anyone says, supposedly that's why Detroit turned it down, is because they feel like they actually have a really good roster this year and have a chance to, to do something. They don't want to start off the season slow. They don't want any distractions. They don't want, cameras all around, and they don't need the attention is what, I heard.
Right.
So, we'll see how it goes. A lot of people are saying they might end up canceling Hard Knocks this year if they can't get one of these teams to agree to it.
Well, they can force somebody, and the NFL will, because it means money. But I don't know if you remember the story back when the Patriots came out of nowhere and just completely shut down the Rams in the Super Bowl. It was actually one of those Hard Knocks type shows that gave up what was going on. And it was a DB from New England that had been at Washington when Shanahan was at Washington, and so was McVay. And he was watching the Rams show that was on, I believe it was Amazon. They had a kind of a Hard Knocks type show that went through the season. He was watching the show and was actually hearing the code words and things that the players were saying that actually tipped off plays, that because he had heard the same thing in Washington. So they go back, start doing extensive film study, and see that they all match up. And then they go ahead and put their game plan together and absolutely completely shut down the Rams. But in true Belichick fashion, it was a bit of, obtained information. Now this time, at least it was legally, but there was, things.
This time.
Yeah, this time it was legally, but it was off of one of those shows. So sometimes, there's no more of there are no bigger paranoid people in the world than coaches. And I could see a lot of guys maybe not wanting to have their stuff out there.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what, give me Denver. I know they probably won't make it happen, but Sean Payton, I'm telling you, give me Denver for a couple of reasons. One, Sean Payton's new coach, obviously, and we're waiting for him to come out of his coaching hiatus that he was on for some time now. That'd be interesting. Russell Wilson is the corniest, funniest, most loving, most hated guy in America. Like, any emotion that you can have towards him, there's somebody that feels that way about him.
Right.
I could take seeing Sierra once a week for no reason on TV. I don't know about everybody else. Or I could surely take seeing Sierra for, give me a couple segments of Sierra. Okay, that's that. Then they also have some interesting storylines too, though. I think the wide receiver room would add for an interesting storyline because of every year. It seems like every year you always feel like, hey, okay, they were a quarterback away. Then they get the quarterback, and it wasn't. But it's like, with Judy, with now I'm gonna miss names just because I'm using them as a point. But I think they have the type of roster, and the Javonte Williams, his return back to the field and him trying to play. He's healthy. I hope that they don't play him, but they said that he's been cleared to return to some type of football activities. Right. I hope they don't rush him back. But still, all in all, I think there's a ton of storylines there that I would love to see.
But Spence, that almost didn't happen either, because there's a deal out. And I was talking to my real good friend RJ from Fox Sports. Russell actually turned down a trade to Philly. They were going to send him to Philadelphia, and he's got the right of first refusal on trades. He turned down the Philly trade to go to Denver. So he almost didn't end up in Denver. If he'd have said yes, he'd have been in Philly. We wouldn't have had the Jalen Hurts story. We wouldn't be they wouldn't probably be in a Super Bowl last year.
And guys, it's the Bears and Commanders, along with the Saints and the Jets, that can be forced to do it.
Commanders be interesting.
It's going to be the Jets, though. I would like to see the Commanders, though, because I like what they're trying to do with their new offense. If like they're bringing in, it's going to be different because now you have some personalities in in these coaching positions that really can bring, and because that's what it's about. Like you said, Jerry, the head coach has to be a personality, or the owner, or somebody on that level. And you know what? I still think the best season for me, out of the two, so it's either the Jet season with Rex, or it's the Ravens when, like one of the very early first.
The Ravens Hard Knocks were absolutely outstanding.
That was outstanding. Shannon Sharp did it, though. It's Shannon Sharp.
Well, they all did. I mean, Goose was there. I mean, Ray, all this. That was there was the only team that had as big of personalities on it as that Ravens team was the Super Bowl Bills teams with some of the personalities they had.
Could you imagine a Hard Knocks with one of those type of Super Bowl teams? Like just the stories that I hear about the 90s Bills. Could you imagine just hearing about the parties?
Yeah, it would have been very
He's like,
entertaining.
yeah.
That's all I got. As Forrest Gump would say, and that's all I got to say about that.
All right, well,
Jerry
let's,
Jerry wouldn't want those videos to be surfaced at this
I don't
point.
think a lot of the players from those teams
Nope.
want those memories resurfaced.
Yup.
Moving on. So
Nope.
let's end off on a fun conversation. One of the things that Jerry has been gauging my interest on has been NASCAR and racing and all. And one of the things that I brought up to him is, so my time in Indianapolis, I did go to the Indy 500 a couple times and I enjoyed it. Like I wasn't in the racing. I'm still really not in the racing, but going to the race, it's a completely different experience than
Right.
watching it on TV. So I do enjoy it. One of the things that comes up all the time regardless of what the conversation is how much Bills Mafia is. We're so proud and we're the best tailgate. You go to any game in America, you come to a Bills Mafia tailgate and we're going to show you how to tailgate. We're going to take shots out of bowling balls and jump through tables and throw ketchup and hot sauce and mustard on you. And we're going to do all of this stuff. I think NASCAR might have them beat, Jerry. So from your perspective, because you are invested in both,
Right.
Best tailgate.
Best tailgate I've ever been to was Texas Motor Speedway in the infield. Bar none, not even close. Love you, Bills Mafia. I love everything about it. Mafia House is great. That's like single A in some podunk town in Idaho compared to the infield at Texas Motor Speedway or the Indy 500 or Daytona or Talladega. Some of the places, Bristol, some of the places I've been to. The height of NASCAR was the wildest thing you can imagine.
Sarah, have you been to any NASCAR events?
Oh yeah, I grew up going to Watkins Glen every year. So I like I said, I grew up going to Watkins Glen, and then down here I went to Daytona the year that Dale Earnhardt crashed.
I was there as well.
Oh, were you?
Yes,
I stopped watching. Yeah, I stopped watching racing for a while after that. I was a diehard Dale Earnhardt fan.
This is getting kind of weird, Sarah. I just want you to know that.
All right, you've been in a lot of places.
A few years after that, probably about 5-6 years after that, I went to Homestead, and so I kind of got back into going here and there. Maybe it's a different experience for me because I was younger, so yes, I was still trying to have a good time, but I didn't know people. So, to me, best doesn't necessarily mean most, crazy and ridiculous. NASCAR races, I've never been to an Indy race, by the way, but NASCAR races, yes. The tailgating, especially if you take the 3-day package and you're there Friday through Sunday, crazy. I know, crazy, ridiculous. And it's a really, it could be a really good time. It definitely can be. But I think that what I've gotten used to with the Bills tailgates is the people. So I have people, at Hammer's Lot. I'm very good friends with Pinto Ron and his family, Kenny and his daughter. I was at his daughter's wedding. Like, they're great people. I love going over there. All the OGs are over there. I call them of Bills Mafia. Diane and Mama J, and they're all over there. So I usually go over and say hi to them. And then I have Mafia House, and then I have my own. We call, it's a long story, but we call each other the minivan Mafia. It's my little crew of people that we go to all of our away games and tailgate. Spence has tailgated with them a couple of times. He's got to meet them all. So it's become the people now necessarily for me. So just going and seeing everybody, and even if I saw everybody last week, they still greet me like they haven't seen me in 3 months. So that's the part that I like. It's still crazy and fun. I'm not going through no tables. I don't need to go through no tables unless we win a Super Bowl. Then I'll go through a table. But other than that, I think that's the difference. I'm not looking for the strip of poles and all the craziness. I've seen them. Actually, at a Miami Dolphins game, they had stripper poles. Was it last year? No, I think the year before.
I've
So-
seen him. I've seen him in
But-
Buffalo too. But
Well, it's like, but a NASCAR
Just saying.
tailgate, like Sarah said, you get there, you get there before the Xfinity race. They race, you party that night, then the next. It's like a 3-day event. The only guy,
Mhm.
you remember the Cat Williams when he was talking about partying with his Hispanic friends, and he's sitting there like he's dancing. He's looking at his watch, like, man, I've been here 48 hours, man.
That's NASCAR.
Yep.
Yep.
That's NASCAR. That's NASCAR.
Yep, that was my experience every time I went. So I went twice to Indy 500, and that was my experience for every time. Like you go, and it's like, I remember when I first went, my cousin, he's waking me up, and it's like 3:30 in the morning, and he's like, all right, yeah, we got to get there, we got to get a good, and I'm like, are you kidding? Like, and he's like, I'm telling you, get up. We get there, and it's not even, by the time we get down there, it's not even, I don't even think it was 4:15 at the time, but it was like wreckage everywhere already. Like people were going crazy. But yeah, no, I got to give the nod to NASCAR. But
Well, next
Mafia,
year,
yeah, they got some stripper poles and
Yeah.
stuff too. I don't know where. I don't know where. I just know I've seen it.
but like Sarah said, it's the people, and you're seeing your friends and you're doing your thing. But it's funny, next year for the 500, Spence, look on Twitter. I'll send it to you. They actually have an Indy 500 infield pick page where all it is just taking pictures of people that are wrecked in the infield, like laying on curbs, in the grass.
I think we
just
should go
all over the place.
I think we should plan to go next year, Jerry.
I'll tell you what, I'd get tickets.
I think we should plan to go. Let's make it a thing, and let's do that and party up and tailgate real good. Just don't report back to anybody at SB Nation. Don't tell them how I was acting at this tailgate.
All right, we'll talk about it. Sounds good.
All right. So, well, look, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to end a little bit early tonight. But Sarah and Jerry, first, thank you both for joining me tonight. I enjoy sometimes just having conversations where it's not all diving into the Bills. Sometimes we did have a little bit of talk about that, but why don't you both take some time really quick, plug your shows or plug your content that you got coming up, anything special, and then let's get on out of here.
Go ahead, Sarah. You can plug us.
All right. So we have a Line to Gain tomorrow night at 9:00. We have moved officially to Wednesdays. So check us out. And Jerry talked about it a little bit last week. We both have a couple of additional projects coming once the season starts. So stay tuned for those things. Some things a little bit separate. We're not getting divorced or anything, but
Yes. The captain and Tennille are still staying together. But no, I like this time of year talking about Bills and talking about stuff like we did tonight, Spence, because there's nothing that pains me more that after the NBA finals, after the NHL finals, and we got that like 80 some days before football starts in the sports radio world, it was the worst because it's called crutch topic sports. So, you're going to have like every Mount Rushmore list you can imagine. You're going to have best sports movie list, boxers or briefs. I mean, there's just like this whole swell of painful questions that you're going to watch or listen to or hear over the next so many weeks. So, yeah, tune in to all the shows, get good quality content on the Bills and a few other things. And I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be fun.
And I kid you not, I had my guy Joab. I had the information actually put up to say his name, and he commented that he loves the hoodie. I got this dope hoodie in the mail not too long ago, representing where my man Big O reigns from.
Yes,
and,
thank
we're
you.
gonna have
I
to
got
make
one
it down
too,
to the Bills Backers Bar down here in Tulsa. It's going to be a good time. So I'm going to make that happen. I don't know if it's going to be this season, but it's either going to be this season or next. I'm going to make it happen. So thank you.
Joab's sister actually owns the bar where they have the Bills Backers in Tulsa.
Okay.
The cool part is she doesn't serve food. She just serves alcohol. So people bring food. So it's almost like a tailgate situation at the bar. It's pretty cool. Joab's a great dude, man. And just a little history.
Yeah.
That Buffalo, that's the Tulsa flag. That's the city of Tulsa flag inside the Buffalo Bills logo.
Nice.
So that's kind of the history of that.
Very nice. So I appreciate it, man. And y'all know how we do it over here. First, I already said thank you to the two of you. So make sure you check them out tomorrow. Tomorrow we also have the Chop Up. Do we have any other programming happening on Wednesday this
tomorrow?
week?
No. Nope.
Okay, so this week is just the two shows. We got so much stuff. We're gonna do some shuffling around. So we're gonna have a new schedule come out for the season that we're gonna start. I guess I don't know. We're probably going to start practicing on it all first week of April or of August. I was going to say April.
Yeah.
So look forward to it. It's going to be a good season. I'm excited. But let's get on out of here. Y'all know how we do it over at Buffalo Rumblings. Y'all love each other, take care of each other, and live in peace. And as always, stay positive, test negative, go Bills.
Go Bills.
One love, go Bills.
Jerry's got to be.
Code of conduct.